Hello, this is KBC Prime Edition coming to you live from Broadcasting House right here in the capital city, Nairobi. It is 9 o'clock East African time. Welcome, my name is Mboya. Tonight we have a comprehensive bulletin for you, including the day's business.
My name is Betty Kiptum. A very good evening to you. We shall be telling you why the government will be requiring data collectors to seek licensing beginning mid-next month in order to enhance data protection.
That's right. Plus, a little later on, we have Karen Kibet. We will be getting sporty with her. Karen, what do you have for us?
Yes, my name is Karen Kibet, and in the world of sports, today marks 37 days to the 22nd edition of the Commonwealth Games. KBC Channel 1 will be broadcasting the 10-day championship, and tonight we focus on the national boxing team, the Hit Squad. You don't want to miss that. Tom?
That's right. And at the tail end of this live broadcast, our colleague Safin Achengo hosts a panel. Tonight's topic is the upcoming presidential debate, and she will also be looking at the role of media in the coming elections, among other angles. So we have all that coming up tonight on this live broadcast. But first things first, our top stories.
With an inventory of what we hold, state actions, as well as investment, can now guide informed and sustainable exploitation of our natural resources.
Safeguarding natural resources, government launches a national mapping project. Azimio and Kenya Kwanza endear themselves to electorate in Isiolo and Nairobi, respectively. The Senate approves the 10 trillion shilling debt ceiling as it wound up its business. Thank you very much indeed for joining us once again. My name is Mboya. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Susan Thuku. Our socials at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle at Mboya24, hashtag Prime Edition. Now, the High Court has temporarily stopped the vaccination of children against COVID-19 without the consent of their parents. That story is coming up shortly, but first, let us look at what we had. President Uhuru Kenyatta Tuesday unveiled the final report of the nationwide airborne geophysical survey that helps identify where Kenyans' prized resources can be found. President Kenyatta said that the country now has a clear picture of its immense potential, which include base metals, coal, gemstones, geothermal spots, forest cover, water bodies, precious metals, and rare earth elements. The mapping was undertaken by a group of young Kenyan professionals under the supervision of a multi-agency team from the security sector. British Gatonia opens our coverage with that report.
Speaking when he launched the joint national mapping projects, President Kenyatta expressed optimism that the projects will help in the national development landscape. He commended the talented young Kenyan professionals who worked jointly under the multi-agency team to make the projects a reality.
This will go a long way towards improving the ease of doing business in our country, making ourselves a that much more attractive destination for business, and thereby creating opportunity for more young people to get decent jobs in our country.
Through the projects, the team mapped out a wide range of resources, including base metals, coal, gemstones, geothermal spots, forest cover, water bodies, precious metals, and rare earth elements.
And with an inventory of what we hold, state actions, as well as investment, can now guide informed and sustainable exploitation of our natural resources, particularly through manufacturing and industrialization, both of which are a key plank of our Vision 2030.
The mapping, the president said, has helped the Ministry of Education in mapping out schools countrywide. The Ministry of Roads has been assisted in the identification of road reserves, while the Kenya Forestry Services has been able to map out forest cover and identify encroached areas. The president said the team also successfully developed a current cadastre for Nairobi County, which has helped in the identification and securing of public lands such as green spaces, health facilities, schools, roads and road reserves.
But you have gone a step further and developed more vibrant applications like the National Addressing System of Kenya, a homegrown door-to-door address and reference system that will vastly improve e-commerce as well as the availability of emergency services across the city of Nairobi. And this, I hope, is something that will be transplanted in all counties of our republic.
The head of state also commended the team for developing several online applications such as Taifa Pay, used to centrally collect most government revenues within Nairobi, which has increased transparency and accountability in government and private dealings.
Today I urge all Kenyans to embrace Ardhi Sasa, that has established a very clear, transparent, very affordable and efficient land information management system.
ICT Cabinet Secretary John Mushero noted that the skills used to formulate the unique innovations were a clear testimony that Kenya is a leader in technology and will go a long way in transforming service delivery in the country.
The digitization of government services, Your Excellency, has placed Kenya on a global map in ease of doing business and access to government services.
The president called on the government agencies to embrace innovations generated from this exercise, saying they will fast-track creation of jobs, diversification of revenue sources, and industrial development. Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Prime Edition.
Just a quick reminder that at the tail end of this live broadcast, my colleague Safina Chieng will be hosting a panel on Kenya Decides. Tonight's topic will be the upcoming presidential debate, the role of media and its significance in the upcoming elections. So you don't want to miss that. Now, the High Court has temporarily stopped the vaccination of children against COVID-19 without the consent of their parents. This follows a petition filed by a parent arguing that the process is unconstitutional. Justice Anthony Mrima directed that the matter be mentioned on the 27th of June for pre-trial directions. Sarafina Robi puts that story into perspective.
Following a petition filed by a parent, Enoch Aura, against the vaccination of children with COVID-19 jab without the consent of the parent, the government will now have to temporarily stop the exercise pending hearing and determination of the matter. Appearing before Justice Mrema, the parent, through lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui, argued that the move by the government was unconstitutional and was a sheer exploitation of the youth, which is forbidden by the law. The matter will now be mentioned on the 27th of June for pretrial directions. Elsewhere, former High Court Judge Robert Mogo Motitu has been arraigned in court on charges of conspiracy to defraud. It's alleged that between the 22nd of April and 19th May 2021 in Nairobi County, Mogo defrauded Jen Wangoi Wahome 6.9 million shillings.
The court is also going to task Senior Counsel Wandugi, who has indicated that he knows accused who was his pupil, to assist in having him summoned and so as to appear in court.
He was, however, released on a bond of 500,000 Kenyan shillings and a cash bail of 100,000 Kenyan shillings, with the plea taking deferred to the 6th of July 2022. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Let's now shift gears and move into the space of politics. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party's presidential candidate Raila Odinga has pledged to solve the elusive security issue in Isiolo and northern Kenya during his first 100 days in office if elected president. Raila, who took his campaigns to Isiolo County Tuesday, also promised to engage the government to distribute relief food to those facing hunger in the drought-stricken region. Kevin Wachira reports.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition presidential candidate Raila Odinga was in Merti and Garbatula, Isiolo County, to woo voters to support his presidential bid. Local leaders setting the tone by rallying eligible voters to vote for Raila Odinga as president on the 9th of August. The leaders want Raila Odinga's government, if elected, to prioritize solving land tussles affecting Isiolo residents.
Sisi atutoki nje ya mipaka yetu kutafuta wengine. Wengine ndo wanaingia, wanachukua mifugo, wanaua wamama, wanaua watoto na wanaondoka.
Ndani ya siku 100, siku 100 ya kwanza ya serikali ya baba, usalama itarudi hapa kila mahali.
Raila using the rallies to explain his core agenda, including fighting graft, advancing education and health sectors, if given the higher mandate.
Kwa hivyo yale ambayo sisi tunataka kufanya hapa, sio ati unafanya kwa huruma ya watu wa hapa, lakini kwa maana nyinyi ni Wakenya kama Wakenya wengine.
Raila vowed to deal with the thorny insecurity issue in the northern region in his first 100 days in office.
Niwaambie hivi, mimi najua kwa serikali ya baba usalama utaimarika. Na mimi najua ataimarisha usalama hapa na siku 100 ya kwanza. Kama ni kuleta GSU reki, baba yuko tayari.
The Azimio leader promising to engage the government to step in and save thousands facing starvation in the region. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Stay with politics. Deputy President Dr. William Ruto says the Kenya Kwanza manifesto will be written by the local Mwananchi and will include proposed solutions to the daily challenges that they face as they try to put food on the table. Speaking during the Nairobi Economic Forum at the Ngong Racecourse, the Deputy President urged the electorate to vote for parties where their interests will be prioritized. Here's that report.
The Kenya Kwanza Brigade, led by Deputy President Dr. William Ruto, pitched camp at Ngong Racecourse for the Nairobi Economic Forum. The leaders sought views from traders and residents of the capital on challenges facing them.
So, ile kitu tungeomba huko City Hall, unafaa uangalie sana. Hii design mtu anashikiwa bike yake, motorbike, inaenda inawekwa kwa yard, na every day unasikia hiyo pikipiki, mtu analipishwa ngapi? 2,200 for storage fee. Ni kama mgonjwa umeacha kwa hospitali kwa kitanda huko.
Eti hata moto ikichomeka sai, imagine if you do a survey, the people who have died heart attack because of the coronavirus, they are many.
Responding to their concerns, the Kenya Kwanza flag bearer stated that their manifesto will be written by the ordinary Kenyans, as they are the ones who understand what affects them on a daily basis.
Tukasema manifesto ya mwaka huu tunaandika na wananchi. Katika manifesto yetu, Mama Mboga ataandika paragraph. Tunataka manifesto itakayoshughulikia mambo ya mwananchi.
Ruto challenged his supporters to make the desired changes through democratic electoral procedures devoid of acts of criminality.
We must say no to violence. We must say no to conflict. We must say no to the use of young people to perpetuate violence and conflict by people who want to acquire power in using every means possible. We want to tell them there is only one route, a democratic route, a peaceful route to a new Kenya.
Those accompanying him assured the electorate that Kenya Kwanza government would address water shortage in Nairobi and transform Dandora dam site to generate electricity, hence creating jobs.
Tumezunguka Kenya mzima wana Nairobi, one common denominator ya Mkenya wa chini ni mtu anaitwa Shylock.
Sisi tunasema jambo ambayo Wakenya wanataka ni nafasi, usawa wa nafasi na nafasi za kiuchumi. When we have economic opportunities for all, we are going to have cohesion for our country.
Wale ndio kusema ama nyinyi ndio kusema?
The leaders then traversed Ruaraka and Mathare, selling their bottom-up model to voters.
Lakini mimi nataka niwaambie watu wa Nairobi ya kwamba mwaka huu tunaweka pesa ya kutosha kwa kilimo.
Mimi mwenyewe sera zangu mnajua, kazi yangu mnajua, na mtanipa kura ya seneta. Watu wa mlango kubwa mtatembea na mimi.
Now, the courts have been challenged to adapt alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to reduce the backlog of cases. Speaking during the first annual Alternative Justice Systems Conference held here in Nairobi, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu said that multiple door approach to the dispensation of justice is key in ensuring social transformation through access to justice. Let's listen in.
Speaking during the annual event, the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu said the discussions of the conference would go a long way in helping develop and deepen the judiciary's understanding and interactions on alternative justice mechanisms in the country.
The discursive techniques they implement, the responsiveness to context, their appreciation of the holistic ideals of justice, and a more complete consideration of both the individual and the community are a few areas from which the judiciary can seek to improve its justice practices.
Mwilu saying embracing alternative dispute resolution systems would help the judiciary protect the weak and vulnerable in society by providing a solution to their claims of justice, and also help to quickly dispense more cases that would have otherwise taken years to adjudicate.
The Constitution in its text speaks to the need to satisfy the desire for inclusion, recognition, and empowerment of every person and various groups in our society.
Justice Joel Ngugi, the chairperson of National Steering Committee of AJS, said the alternative justice system is about increasing the quality of justice that people receive on a timely manner. While marking the first national annual conference of the alternative justice systems, the Deputy Chief Justice of Kenya, Philomena Mwilu, has stressed on the need to adopt paradigm shift mechanisms in conception of justice. For Prime Edition, I'm Lynn Chalo.
Well, that story brings us to our first break, and we will be back shortly. Don't go away.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
To get John chapter 11 as your skiza tune, dial star 811 star 965 hash.
I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. John chapter 11, verse 25.
To get John chapter 11, dial star 811 star 965 hash. To get John chapter 11, dial star 811 star 965 hash.
Our socials at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Mboya24, hashtag Prime Edition. Welcome to the second half of this live broadcast. Treasury has now the green light to borrow up to 10 trillion shillings after both houses of parliament approved the variation on the public debt ceiling Tuesday. 27 senators approved the motion that was passed by members of the National Assembly before proceeding on a break. This comes as Senate sittings come to an end ahead of the general poll.
The Senate has adjourned sine die
bringing to an end operations of the 12th Parliament ahead of the August elections. During the last sitting of the Senate, lawmakers approved the increase of the debt ceiling to 10 trillion shillings.
These are the results for order number 19. Abstentions 0, nays 3, ayes 27. The ayes have it.
In the 5-year term of the third Senate of Parliament, 20 bills, 403 motions, 103 petitions, and 501 statements have been considered and passed, with senators calling for clear separation of powers between the Senate and the National Assembly.
It's an existential threat to this House, and unless we guard against that threat, Mr. Speaker, there are people who are hell-bent on lowering the Senate, on make sure that the Senate doesn't get recognition.
National Assembly cannot be sitting on our bills and allowing their bills to come here and we keep on discussing their bills when actually we are here to protect the counties.
And I believe that during the first session of the Senate of the 13th, in the 13th Parliament, yourself, Senator Orengo, among others who will have exited this House, Mr. Speaker, to serve in other capacities, will be invited, Mr. Speaker, during our first retreat to make sure that we look together, on the issues that we dealt with at that time, even as the new Senate will begin to plan for the future.
Meanwhile, efforts by Senate Leader of Majority Samuel Pogisio to have the House pass the election campaign financing bill hit a snag after members expressed concerns over the timing of the bill. The bill, which seeks to have politicians reveal their source of campaigning finances and audit accounts, was met by a backlash with members opposed to the bill.
Looking at what the Majority Leader is proposing, and at the same time, time is of essence. I believe let it be interrogated by the next House so that we ensure, Mr. Speaker, that we do not pass laws and then we start asking ourselves, where were we when this was being passed?
The problem is the timing, Mr. Speaker. We are in the middle of a fairly heated campaign period between two very strong contestants for the seat of presidency. And we don't want to send the wrong signal.
Despite the fact that the Senate has adjourned its sitting, the term of Parliament officially expires on the eve of the 9th of August. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, political leaders in Marsabit County are urging the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to hold a meeting with the country's security organs to discuss the removal of the dawn to dusk curfew before the general poll. The move, according to aspirants, will provide an opportunity for voters to actively participate in the general poll.
Political aspirants vying for various political seats in Marsabit County are calling on the government to lift the curfew imposed due to security challenges to allow them campaign and also participate in the August elections.
For a few days before election, we request the government and Minister Matiang'i to at least call off the curfew to allow our people to move to polling stations and to vote.
Elsewhere, the Narok Peace Association held a peace rally at the William Olentimama Stadium. Residents were urged to maintain peace during this electioneering period. The association chairman Joshua Kaputa urged youth to be instruments of peace and shun politicians who incite violence.
And you know, peace is about development. Peace is about helping the needy. Peace is about supporting the less fortunate in the society. And peace is about uniting the communities that are within our counties.
And Marsabit County has launched the Ufugaji Bora Maisha Bora program. The program is aimed at educating locals on good livestock practices and create awareness on the health benefits of some of the animal products like milk and meat. Marsabit County Government's Deputy Director of Livestock Services, Stephen Riongo, noted that many residents lack awareness on the health benefits of some animal products which they sell only to purchase foods which do not have the desired nutritional value. A narrative the county is keen on changing.
Magonjwa ambayo inatoka kwa nyama inaenda kwa wanadamu. Na hapa Marsabit kuna utafiti ilikuwa imefanywa inaonyesha magonjwa mengine iko hali ya juu kushinda hata sehemu zingine.
Over 600 pupils at Getwamba Primary School in Nairobi's Ruai area have been forced to study in the open after their classrooms were declared uninhabitable. The one-story building that housed the classes has developed widening cracks on its walls.
I was told there were one of the blocks holding 8 classrooms was developing some cracks, and they had started a bit earlier. But because of the high population, it has put a lot of pressure on the buildings.
Finally, Kisii County farmers are poised to enjoy high proceeds from the launch of an avocado industry by the British High Commission to Kenya. Speaking during its inauguration at Agricultural Training Center, Deputy High Commissioner Julia Scott termed the factory as a value addition chain of the current partnership between the county government and United Kingdom. Kisii Governor James Ongwae said farmers will earn 30% more from their crop following distribution of hybrid seedlings to them to increase avocado trees to 1 million.
We're going to pay them based on the market value of that avocado. What that actually means is that they will get probably 20 or 30% much more than they're getting at the moment.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troenjue.
Now, shortly before his death in 1991, Somalia's third president, General Mohamed Siad Barre, sought refuge right here in Kenya. Thus, arrangements were made on how to rescue him from the hands of the militia and airlift him to Nairobi. The rescue mission fell in the hands of Captain James Nyongesa Wafubua. How did he execute that mission? Nisi Mano had a sit-down with Captain Wafubua and filed the following report for this week's episode of Military Tales.
Captain James Nyongesa Wafubua joined the military at a time when the Shifter War was at its peak.
I was given that honor that I've now been a cadet, and we were ferried straight to AFTC, Nakuru, to start training. In August, we came back to Air Force as cadet pilots.
Then came the late 1980s and early 90s, and Kenya and the rest of the Horn of Africa was plagued with serious conflicts between militia and military forces.
So the helicopters played a very big role in deploying the army in the front line at that time.
In 1991, Captain Wafubua was commanded to immediately move into Somalia to rescue Somali President Siad Barre and bring him safely to Kenya.
A point near Liboi, President Siad Barre is fleeing, and behind him is they are the rebels. That's the General Aidid's rebels who are chasing him. So they are on hot pursuit.
Wafubua immediately sprang into action. Armed with his co-pilot, technician, and a clinical officer, they took off.
Actually, by the time he was telling me that, I could see the technicians were running around already. They have picked guns. The medical team is already there. So I jumped in the aircraft.
During the flight, the commander kept the communication going between the pilot and Siad Barre's security team.
I cannot be sure how the communication was going on. Mine was to tell my commander how I'm going to get out of it. Then he talks to them.
Their plan was elaborate and strategic, with only minutes to execute.
Whatever we said, they did exactly that. We saw 5 vehicles parked well, facing south. And I was able to locate Siad Barre and his family in some bush near call it about a kilometer away from where the vehicles were.
But Siad Barre's daughter had been shot by the General Mohamed Farah Aidid militia.
The clinic officer said she had been shot in the chest, and therefore she was bleeding. But to stop the bleeding, that's why she had inserted herself with fingers inside her body.
They had to fly low to maintain pressure.
If I went up, she was going to die because her body pressure will be higher than the external pressure, so she will bleed more. So I just came kissing the trees all the way from Somalia border to Nairobi.
The mission was successful.
The commander was monitoring and we were talking and we were telling him what he was doing. So the mission is successful. We have rescued the president and his family.
Shortly after that, yet another mission came calling. In October of 1992, a Kenyan aircraft strayed into Somalia.
The last time the communication said that was Lieutenant Makaka who had strayed. He only said one engine has died and they don't have fuel.
General Muhammad Farah Aidid was demanding for ammunition for them to release the aircraft.
The government cannot spend this kind of money. They would rather bomb the helicopter and buy another one. But they cannot spend that money. It's okay. The Malaysians say, look, go and bring it.
But 2 days later, American Ambassador Smith Hemston produced the lost pilots at Wilson Airport.
There was a lot of interest from countries to come and bring the helicopter for us. And actually he brought a satellite photograph of the aircraft. It's this one. It's near mosque.
This new information came in handy.
We overflew the place. We came back to Wajir. I picked the helicopter now at the Wajir to get the features around the area.
And ambush they did.
Those fellows didn't have time to come back to their tanks and engage our boys. They didn't have that time. We just ambushed them.
As Wafubua and the technician refueled the aircraft, replaced the dead engine and battery, seemingly oblivious to the war raging around them.
I was in the cockpit checking that the instruments are all intact, the controls, the cyclic is working. Said, sawa, wakisa engine.
So what personal traits worked best for Captain Wafubua as a pilot in his numerous dangerous rescue missions?
Courage. You must be very courageous. But not just being courageous, you must be courageous and you must have foresight.
Captain Jamis Wafubua Nyongesa's story is like one out of an action-filled Hollywood movie, one that is lined with many difficult, life-threatening situations, but also one of courage, resilience, and successful military rescue missions. Reporting for KBC from Nairobi County, I'm Nisi Emano.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written. Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Welcome back. Improved cassava, buyer power. It's now time for business news.
Thank you, Tom. Time to get the latest in the business world. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, data collectors and processors will from mid-next month require a data protection certificate to be licensed to operate in Kenya. ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru says the government has engaged experts who will help targeted companies comply and understand the country's data protection laws.
In March this year, Parliament approved a set of data regulations aimed at safeguarding personal data in the country. The policies passed included the Data Protection Regulations 2021, Data Protection, Complaints Handling and Enforcement Procedures Regulations 2021, and the Data Protection, Registration of Data Controllers and Data Processors Regulations 2021. The government says the new policies are aimed at protecting public data against abuse.
As a country, we now have not only a data protection law, we have regulations,
and these are coming into force next month. People are going to begin to be told, where are you picking data, how are you storing the data, how are you processing, and how is it being used.
To enhance compliance with the new data laws, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner earlier in the year pushed for amendments to some sector regulations like the Central Bank of Kenya Amendment Act 2021, which saw mobile money lenders fall under CBK oversight and compelled them to have a certificate in compliance with the Data Protection Act.
You might be a Kenyan company, you have a global client, the possibility of breach could affect your company significantly, your reputation, your revenue. So there is need to ensure that you're actually complying with data protection. And that's the registration process as just one aspect of registration.
Speaking at the launch of the Data Protection and Privacy Conference convened by data consultants Johan Consults in Nairobi, stakeholders emphasized on the importance of data protection, adding that it begins with an individual.
Data breaches, people need to be able to identify and report that their data has been stolen or has been used.
The advantages and the benefits to Africa actually, apart from having personal identifiable information secure, it's also good for us internationally because a lot of international organizations will know that their data is safe with us.
The ODPC says so far, companies have shown interest in complying with the new data laws, hence the need for a data compliance consultant. ODPC will also list companies that have complied on their website.
By July 14th, 2022, Kenya will join other countries like Nigeria in requiring data controllers and processors to have a data protection certificate before being wholly registered. Alan Aoko, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Alan, for that report. Now, e-commerce revenue in Kenya is expected to hit 430 billion shillings this year, driven by robust government investments in digital infrastructure that have increased internet adoption. Uptake of digital services and mobile money innovations are also up. Stakeholders in the ICT sector are pushing for the development of an e-commerce national strategy to fasten the pace of growth of online business.
The onset of COVID-19 pandemic saw most businesses and individuals embrace online services, helping drive growth of e-commerce. At the launching of the e-commerce readiness report for Kenya, officials said Kenya is a pacemaker in e-commerce in Africa, with combined revenues expected to hit $3.6 billion by the end of this year.
We're doing well, but we are not yet there. So we're asking the private sector and the government to speak to each other. The big part of the report says let's stop the silos and the silo mentality within ministries and private sector and government, and let's all sit together on the table and create a thinking platform around getting us trading on the e-commerce platform.
Nonetheless, absence of a national addressing system, high cost of transactions, lack of trust and transparency among sector players are among the e-commerce challenges.
What we're doing and asking ourselves is how do we get to the last mile? A big question that we also ask in the report is on payments and financing, and we also know the cost models around payments and financing in this country continue to be a high burden, especially on tax for the citizen. And so we need to rethink our challenges on how do we reduce the rate of taxes.
Kenya is in the process of developing a national addressing framework which will anchor establishment and implementation of a cohesive and integrated national addressing system.
We are going to develop a national strategy which is informed by what we have found, the study that was conducted to find out how ready we are. Informed by the assessment, we believe that we are going to develop a robust strategy that will enable our country fit in the global space and enable our businesses compete favorably.
E-commerce sector players are calling for development of an e-commerce national strategy to address the digital skills gap, fast-track implementation of key infrastructure projects such as the national optic fiber backbone infrastructure, as well as enforce existing laws and regulations on e-commerce for desired outcomes.
At the click of a button, the revenue from e-commerce is projected to hit $1.5 billion in this current financial year. Now, digital platforms are seizing this opportunity and are investing heavily to ensure that they improve their digital infrastructure. Caroline Jenga for Primetime Edition.
Now, Kenya and Turkey are banking on improving the ease of doing business for investors to grow trade threefold from 41.1 billion shillings in 2021 to a mutual target of 131 billion shillings. Turkey's ambassador to Kenya, Ahmet Semil Miroglu, says establishment of special economic zones would make it possible for Turkish and Kenyan businesses to trade seamlessly.
Turkey and Kenya currently enjoy good bilateral relations, having established diplomatic ties in 1967 that have deepened following high-level visits from both countries. Despite this, a trade between the two countries has remained low, worth 41.1 billion shillings in 2021. Turkish investors are keen on growing this through investments in construction and the real estate sector.
Now I understand that there are many big opportunities for our mutual trade, and we are looking for a win-win, cooperation with Kenya, and I believe now we are going on the right track.
Turkish suppliers and businesses who are scouting for business in Kenya toured the Tatu City Special Economic Zone that houses various companies such as Cold Solutions Limited, which is expected to be the largest multi-temperature cold storage facility in East and Central Africa.
I'm very much impressed with the concept of Tatu City, and I'm very glad to hear that now it already hosts some Turkish companies, and we understand that now we are developing our economic cooperation in line with Kenya's Big Four agenda.
So Tatu City is a very well-known investment environment for both international and local investors. We have more than 70 companies that are either operational or under development and construction in Tatu City. They range from multinationals, Turkish investments, but really global scale investments to many Kenyan champion brands and local and regional companies as well.
Currently, at Tatu City Special Economic Zone, more than 70 local, regional and multinational businesses have opened or started development. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
It is now mandatory for contracts between buyers and suppliers to contain terms of payment conditions for termination and dispute resolution mechanisms. According to Competition Authority of Kenya, the move is meant to protect buyers and retailers from abuse of buyer power.
Delayed payments by a buyer, unilateral termination of an agreement, a buyer's refusal to receive or return goods without justifiable reasons in breach of contractual terms, demand for preferential terms, as well as when buyers transfer costs such as marketing expenses, are the most common forms of abuse of buyer power.
And one of the things that the Competition Authority normally looks at is that when parties are trying to merge with others, we normally undertake assessment of that merger. And once we have done the assessment, is that the merger can have three likely outcomes. One is that the merger can be approved unconditionally. Two, the merger can be approved with conditions. Or three, that the merger can actually be stopped from going ahead. However, in doing this, the authority normally requires the party to make a full notification, and that will give information relating to the markets that the party is operating. And once the authority has gotten this information, it will review the transaction, see the markets, see the likely concerns, and especially we are looking at whether that merger would likely lead to anti-competitive practices.
In efforts to protect retailers and suppliers from abuse of buyer power, the Competition Authority of Kenya has made it mandatory for contracts between the buyer and the supplier to contain terms of payment, conditions for termination, and dispute resolution mechanisms.
That the authority cannot work in isolation, just looking at transactions, just what is happening within its jurisdiction. We have to go beyond that. We are cooperating with other agencies. If you look at the discussions that are happening around, like now, the East Africa Competition Authority is almost becoming functional. Commercial competition is there. Discussions around tripartite ACFTA. That competition agencies have to collaborate and look at the global entities and how they are behaving in their markets.
So far, 38 million shillings owed to MSMEs in the insurance value chain have been disbursed following investigations into abuse of buyer power targeting 18 insurance companies that had not honored clients' claims. To avert such occurrences, the Competition Authority of Kenya is advising businesses to enhance record keeping to facilitate easy retrieval of evidence. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa. Million members empowered to learn, to create, to grow, to harvest, to lead, to dream. Equity. Karibu member.
Welcome back. Now, Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization has unveiled a new cassava variety that is resistant to mosaic and brown streak diseases, which have been blamed for crop failure or reduced harvests. KALRO has set up seed units to help in the distribution of the new variety to farmers that is backed to boost yields.
The cassava mosaic disease was a real problem in the mid-1990s as it spread across East Africa, causing over 80% in yield losses. Currently, cassava yield losses attributed to the cassava mosaic disease in East Africa are estimated at 7 billion shillings. To help reduce the losses, the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization has unveiled a new cassava variety that is resistant to both the cassava mosaic disease and the cassava brown streak virus.
And we also have some cassava varieties which are doing very well in this region of Busia. These varieties are resistant to cassava mosaic disease and the cassava brown streak disease, which are very serious disease in this particular region of Busia County. So far,
researchers say the two diseases are to blame for reduced cassava production as well as lower acreage of land under the crop. To drive up the uptake of the cassava variety, the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization has set up seed units that can produce more disease-free and high-yielding variety.
The problem has been lack of enough clean planting materials of cassava. But with the help of this project under KSAP, we have come up with a lot of seed units that are producing good seeds that are free from these viral diseases. And we have even gone far to take these seeds to the farmers around here.
The Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization is also sensitizing and training farmers on the best crop husbandry and how to secure market for the produce. Reporting for Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
And internationally, the U.S. crude oil refining capacity has declined as plants shut during the outset of the coronavirus pandemic, causing pump prices of petroleum products to spike. Several plants are being converted to facilities that can produce cleaner burning renewable diesel, but at least for now, those facilities will not fully replace those refined barrels. Here are the details of these and more from across the globe.
There are at least 12 renewable diesel projects worth more than $9 billion under construction, with another 9 proposed. The 12, along with existing plants, are expected to produce about 135,000 barrels per day of renewable diesel by the year 2025 from around 80,000 barrels per day. Globally, about 400,000 barrels per day of combined diesel, jet fuel, and fuel oil capacity has been lost since 2019. Growing demand and refinery losses have pushed diesel prices to record levels. The retail price of US diesel has surged by 80% this year, and low inventories have raised the potential for shortages. US stock of distillates, including diesel, are down 19% from a year ago. Meanwhile, former Tesla employees have filed a lawsuit against the U.S. electric car company, alleging its decision to carry out mass layoff, which violates federal law as the company did not provide advance notice on the job cuts. The lawsuit was filed in Texas by 2 workers who said they were terminated from Tesla factory in Nevada. According to the suit, more than 500 employees were terminated at the Nevada factory. The workers alleged the company failed to adhere to federal laws on mass layoff that require a 60-day notification period under the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act. Tesla, which has not commented on numbers of layoffs, did not immediately respond to requests for comment about the lawsuit. Finally, imports from China's Xinjiang region are due to be banned in the US from Tuesday as new rules come into force. Under the regulations, farms will have to prove imports from the region are not produced using forced labor. US officials have claimed members of the minority Uyghurs community in the region have been detained and made to work. China has repeatedly rejected the accusation that it is holding Uyghurs in internment camps in Xinjiang. Several imports from the resource-rich region, including cotton and tomatoes, have already been banned from the US. The restriction will be extended to all imports from the region. Reporting for Prime Edition, I'm Terry Njenga.
Well, that's it for business news this particular evening. Karen Kibet is standing by on the other side of the studio to bring you the latest in sports. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do have yourself a lovely night. Bye-bye.
I'll take it right away. Thank you, Betty, for keeping us up to speed with the latest in the world of business. Let's now delve into matter sports. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, the Kenya Judo Federation will host the Africa Junior and Cadets Championships from the 21st to the 24th of next month at Kasarani. Now, over 40 countries have expressed their interest to participate in the 4-day championship, which nations like Algeria, Tunisia, Cameroon, Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, Angola, Mozambique, Mauritius, Senegal, and South Africa are ready to take part. The event will act as a qualifier for the World Cup Championship scheduled in October in Poland. Kenya will also use the championship to prepare for the Africa Youth Games scheduled for Cairo in September this year.
According to the quota that we have been given, we will only manage to send 2. That is a lady and a man. The lady is the African champion in the plus 78 kgs, Perista Busire, and the man is plus 100 silver medalist.
The national boxing team Hit Squad is eyeing a successful campaign at the 22nd edition of the Commonwealth Games due in Birmingham, UK from the 28th of July to August 8th, and KBC Channel 1 will broadcast the 10-day championship live.
The team of 12 boxers is currently in camp preparing for the Commonwealth Games. However, the 12 will be reduced to only 4, 2 female and 2 male.
Hii itakuwa mara ya kwanza kwa kwenda kwa mashindano kama haya ya Commonwealth Games tukiwa na hopes sawa kwa upande wa kina dada na upande wa kina wanaume, kwa sababu tunashukuru serikali kwa kutuwezesha kushiriki katika mashindano tofauti internationally ambazo zimetupatia especially kina dada uwezo wa kujipima nguvu na kuimprove katika performance yao generally.
The 4 will be charged with hunting medals for Kenya in the discipline at the games, where Christine Ongare won bronze at the games last edition in Gold Coast.
Training inaendelea poa, na by the time training inaisha tutakuwa ready kuperform na Wakenya watarejea.
Sasa unajua tuko watu kiasi ile sana unapata uwezi jificha. Coach anajua sahihi anaona kila mtu. Sasa preparation tuko fiti, tuko poa kwa hiyo community ya Birmingham na mambo yanakuwa fiti, mambo yanakuwa poa. Si ni medal tu, si ati mambo yanakuwa poa na ndio medal.
The boxers are currently holding training camp at Kasarani, where the rest of the 123 athletes who will represent Kenya at the games across 20 disciplines are also conducting their training.
Thank you, Okumu, for that report. Moving on, Ryan Peniston beat another notable name on British grass by fighting back to overcome French Open quarter-finalist Holger Rune at Istanbul. The British men's number 6 beat world number 5 Casper Ruud on his way to the Queen's quarter-finals. In their final event before Wimbledon, 26-year-old Peniston won 4-6, 7-6, 6-1 against Denmark's 8th seed Rune. Peniston will play a Spanish opponent in the second round, either Alejandro Davidovich, Fokina or Pedro Martinez. And finally, Manchester United hope to persuade Denmark midfielder Christian Eriksen to join them before the new season. It was thought the 30-year-old would prefer to remain in London after making a successful comeback with Brentford in the second half of last season. Brentford hoped Eriksen would stay on, while it was thought Tottenham Hotspur were also keen to resign him. However, a deal has not been agreed with either club, giving United the chance to make an offer for the free agent. And those are all the sports stories for you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place with more sports news. My name is Karen Kibet. Have yourself a peaceful night. I hand you back to Mboya.
Many thanks indeed, Karen and Betty. Well, up next is Kenya Decides. On behalf of Prime Edition team, I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Susan Thuku, our sign language interpreter. And thank you at home for watching. My name is Mboya. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya.